Hi everyone, it's Lucy from Sweet Poppy Stencils. I shared a little make this week, and it was a little make that I did at the recent Doncaster Crafting Live show. Really loved it. So I got a nice response to it, so I thought I would show you how I created it. On this one, I haven't put any little critters or anything. I will put something on the one that I'm going to do now, just to show you the difference. Eileen commented and said, well, why not, stamp it on acetate, which is a fabulous idea. Didn't even think of it. But the beautiful little Stampscape polymer stamps, so our lovely polymer range of the Stampscapes come with the reliefs, and with the reliefs you can just pop them over and you can see and go, yeah, that works, that doesn't work. So I tried a few critters, they didn't work, so I'm going to do my person and dog walking in the snow on this one that I'm going to create. So I do have quite a few stamps on this. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and obviously I'm going to use one of the critters. So it'll be 5 stamps using. I've used an Aperture square, but you can cheat and you can actually just tape it around and work that way. My hills, they're created with our new stencil, which is the torn rectangle, which is this one, and you can choose whichever hills and things that you want. So I'm going to do it that way. Just because I've used a square, it doesn't mean that you can't use any of the baubles or any of the other apertures that we've got. Even a triangle works. So have a little think, have a little look in your stash and play with them that way. So to start off with, what we need is a 145 by 145 topper. I'm using a slightly off-white card, just because I quite like the off-white. So let's start. So I have my magnetic sheet. I'm just going to make sure that we're in shot. A little bit sticky on there. There we go. So I've got my magnetic sheet. Sorry, I've got a little bit of glue on my mat. Fabulous. We're going to be using oxide, so speckled egg oxide. Now when sometimes you overstamp on speckled egg, it can sort of almost suck the ink out of what you're stamping on top, so be prepared, you may need to go in twice. Versafine Clair, this is the Nocturne. I love that this ink. I've got my good old stamping press, which really does need a clean, and then I've got 2 brushes. I've got my size 3 blending brush and my detail brush. These are my oxide ones, and I have a little HB pencil, a little graphite pencil. As I said, I am going to be using my Aperture square and my Aperture torn rectangle. So we're good to go. Okay, so we're just going to pop our square on. As I said, I've got about a 145 by 145 bit of card. You can go bigger if you want, it's up to you. What I do need is my good old trusty stencil tape. Forgot to tell you about that. So I am just going to screen all the way around. I just want to catch that there. And again, around and down. Just so that if I've got any overhanging, it's not going to catch. I'm on a magnetic sheet, always draw on a magnetic sheet, stencil on a magnetic sheet. And what I'm going to do is, if you can see, just make sure, I'm just going to pop a little bit of pencil just down on there, and it will come clear why. So my brushes. Now it's up to you whether you start with your sky work down or you start with your hills work up. It's completely up to you. I tend to start with my hills and work my way up. I don't want to dip my brush in yet, so I'm just taking a little bit of blue from there. And so if you take a look, I've got my little detail brush and I'm just going to just take a little bit of the graphite, so in a way dirty my brush a little bit. This is going to be my bottom of my design, and I'm just going to gently, and it is very gently, I'm just going just about half all the way around, and that sort of gives me, I suppose, a little bit of grounding. So if I show you what I've got, there we go, can you see? So I've got a base to my picture. Lovely. So screen that off now, so I'm good to go. So I'm going to take my stencil and I'm going to decide which hills I want to use, and I think I'm going to use that one. So I'm going to go about, I think I'll go probably about there. Yeah, that looks good to me. It's up to you how many hills you put in. So I'm just gonna, I'm holding it down. Now, if you're using a piece of paper, you would slide that under the stencil, under the square stencil, and keep it nice and taut. When you're using the stencil on top, I can't do that because it'll raise it too much for me. So I'm just doing it on top, and I'm just being quite careful where I'm going. So that's going to be my first hill. And there you go. So I'm then going to go from that point, and I think I'll probably go about up to here. So from that point, and I'm going to go probably about there. And again, you could choose a different hill if you wanted. You don't have to use the same hill. I'm just gonna, I don't want ink on there really, not too much anyway. I just want a dusting. So I'm just really dusting really gently over. And again, I'm just gonna lift up. If I need to put a bit more, then I know I can go and put a bit more down. There we go. So that's my second hill. This is going to be my final now. So I'm going to go from roughly around about there. And I think that's good. This is going to be my sky. So I'm just going to go about there. So I'm now going to, whoops, shifted it. I'm going to swamp this with colour, but I'm going to mask this off because I don't want to get any fingerprints or anything like that. And I've made sure that it's off the square. Make sure if you're pulling it across that you're not cutting your corners off, which I do sometimes. If that happens, then you're just going to, when you lift it, have to touch up your little square because you want a complete square. So can we make sure we're in shot? Lovely. So picking up with my size 3 brush, and I'm going to swamp it with colour. I'm holding it and I'm pulling it across, and again and I'm just making sure that I'm well inked all the way over, so I've got a nice coverage. So pulling them up away from the edge of the stencil, pulling them down away from the edge, and I think that's pretty good, a pretty good coverage. Fabulous. It's a beautiful, beautiful ink. This is Speckled Egg. If you're using the Distress, then it is going to be darker. Distress oxides are always more of a softer finish to them, and they're a chalk base, as in a chalk finish to them. They are beautiful. So I need water, so a little spray with water, just check. We're just going to blot, and this is going to give a little bit more softness to the sky. So we're lifting off. I'm going to take my tape off and I'm going to pop that into water just to have a good old wash. I'm going to remove our tapes. I tend to leave the stencil on and spray my water. That means I'm not going to get all spray all over here then. Lovely. So I'm happy with that. So we're going to go in with our inks. Now, normally I would leave this to dry because obviously you've just sprayed it with water, a little dusting of water. I'm going to pop that out to one side. Clean up a little bit of this area because I've got bits everywhere. So when I'm using a stamp press, you know, a lot of the time I need to go in once or twice. So I'm gonna pop a little bit of tape down there. My magnets are never quite as strong as I would like them. So I've actually got a little bit of tape and I know with confidence that I can go in twice. With my lower edge on my card, I always put my big tree, but that is just personally me. So the stamps that I'm using today, I've got a lovely collection of Stampscapes. I'm going to use the single pine tree. I love this one. They don't come in sets, they come in singly, but this is a way for me when I'm taking them to shows that I don't lose them. So I stamp them on a piece of card, laminate it, and then nice and easy to store, pop in a wallet. So I'm going to use my single pine tree. I'm going to use Pine Row. Again, they all come singles. I'm going to use my two fences, my old fence. So this is old fence and this is fence. You could get away with one if you wanted. And then I'm going to use the man walking the dog or the person walking the dog. And this is from set 3. So in set 3 you have the buck, A, and then you have the people walking. So we're good with those. So let's create our little creation. So my stamp's really good with a bit of TLC. They are a bit mucky. So I'm going to just line him up there, and it's off the page. I'm just going to check that that's straight. And check that we're in shot. Lovely. Pick up. Pop down. There we go. Get out of the way. So we're going in with Nocturne, gentle taps, making sure we've got good coverage of ink. We're on, over, pressing down and let it soak in. I'm happy with that. So take him away to be cleaned after and pop him to one side. So if you had paper, you could line up and you could quite happily just pop your paper down and over stamp it. Because I haven't, I'm going to just very quickly take my tape, and it is very rough. We're going to just line up along here. because I want my trees in the background, but I don't, my stamp is a lot bigger than that. I just want the tops. So all we're doing is we're just creating a little mask, but not stressing too much. So I'm going to do one tape all the way down, and that way if it does go over, I'm not going to get a great big line over, because I just want it in the picture, not off the picture. There we go. Quite happy with that. I'm just hoping I'm not getting my head in the shot. I do apologise if I am. There we go. Lovely. So we're going to line up where our trees, we want our trees, and I think that's quite nice. I think we'll go there. Okay, so we'll press down and pick up. What I'm going to do is I may have to go in twice, so I'm just going to pop again, moving my magnets, and we're just going to ink over the top. So we're just inking the top of it. I love this stamp press because what you can do is before I commit, I can just check and see, am I going to be totally covered? Fabulous. I'm going to give it a little bit more ink. There we go. Hopefully I've not shaken the table too much. Now remember, you've got to get past the tape. So we're just letting that really sink in. I'm pressing quite hard. What I'm not doing is I'm not going up and down like that, because there's movement in the hinges, and I find that I can push the plate upwards, so I'm just making sure I'm down. I'm quite happy with that. So that's off. Pop them over there, and then this is going to come off, because we now need to start putting the other bits in. So we're going to just pull off that. As you can see, it comes off quite easy because it's stencil tape, so it's not hurting the image. If you've got any patches that you think, oh, I wish it was a little bit better or a little bit heavier there, then what you could do is with the little black micro fine pen, you can touch up. So we're going in with our fence. I'm just going to remove that bit and make it a little bit lower, just in case I need to come over. Fabulous. Pick up, press down, making sure I'm in shot. There's nothing worse than filming something and finding that you've missed the whole picture. I adore Stampscapes, and working with our stencils is like harmony. It's perfect. So if you've got the red rubber, do it the same with the red rubber as well. So they all mix and match. So, you know, you could get away with just that. That's beautiful on its own. But because I've got both fences, and this is where, if you're not sure of something, you can use the sheet that comes over the top of the stamps, and you can just line up and go, right, okay, that works, that doesn't work. There we go. So we're just lining him up there. if you wanted it longer, or a break in it, so you could do a break there. I quite like them joined together. And again, beautiful. So we're going to put some people in, as we said. So people walking in the snow. So what we're going to do, we'll use our leaf. Do I want them up here? Do I want them down here? Oops, not in the sky. Right there. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mask them off slightly as well, so they're already. So I'm going to take her, press down, so I'm going to pop my little relief back over, and I'm going to take a little bit of tape. Okay, I don't want all of this in, so I'm just going to mask off their footprints. I'm going to tap. So I've masked their footprints off. So then I'm going to take that away. And go over. And there you go. And I'm just going to go a bit more. I'm happy with that. So we're just going to take that off. I tend not to put a lot of sentiments on my designs unless I really know it's a Christmas, it's this, it's that, or it's going to go to someone. I sort of put them to one side and then decide later in the day. So I'm going to pop that to one side. So you have a choice now. So you can create a card base, and I could mat and layer that if I wanted, put that onto a card, and that's perfect. Or I've got a frame here, a little bit of black. I'm just going to pop that side a minute, and then now normally if it's going in a frame, what I'll do is I will do wet glue as well, only because I find that sometimes the glue from the rollers and that and tape can dry out a little bit. There you go. So we have our little creation. So I'm just going to ground my trees because they're floating. So this is just my little pencil. So what we can do is I'm just going to join a tree up there where it's floating. And this is the little quickie glue pen. So I'm just add a little bit of sparkle to this one. I'm not a sparkle person normally. So just dot and line. And you could pick these up from any good craft shop. I'm just going to grind my people a little bit as well. Probably better to do that after the glue that I've just popped down. Silly me. That's fine now. I had tweezers on me, I'd get them with tweezers. There we go. And a couple of little white pen just to brighten some of the dots. So I've done a little sprinkle, haven't I? So I need I do have some beautiful fine glitter. Let me just find it. It's in my stash somewhere here. So because glitter gets everywhere. You won't, unless you get quite close, you're not really going to see the sparkle too much. So any super fine glitter will work for you. Oops. So I've just used the Cosmic Shimmer Diamond Snow. So there we go. There's our two beautiful little makes. So one in the card base, one in a mount, and there you go, beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed the little demonstration. Don't forget to tune in for more creativity inspiration with Sweet Poppy Stencils, either on our YouTube channel, Sweet Poppy Stencils, or on our group page, which is simply Sweet Poppy Stencils.